Hello, and welcome to another Save Your Sanity bonus live stream. We're going to be talking today about something that's so prevalent when we've had all this time alone at home and not having the life that we were having and having to make major adjustments. And it certainly will have highlighted any issues that we might have going on within ourselves and our relationships. So my guest today is Dr. Atousa Mahdavi, and we're going to be talking about overcoming the chronic stress of toxic relationships. And that's a great big bucket of ideas and thoughts. So if you have a question, be sure to jump in and ask it. We'll be happy to discuss it with you. Just put it in the comments. We'll see it. And generally, we're going to just learn more about Dr. Atousa's wonderful practice and how she can shed some light on how to get rid of that chronic stress. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. We've previously done an episode of Save Your Sanity. So if you want more information and more in-depth information, you can go and listen to the interview on Save Your Sanity, or you can find Dr. Atousa at yourvitalitydoctor.com. And vitality, it's a big thing right now, trying to keep our energy up and make these shifts. What are you finding that people are having the greatest problem with?
Yeah, so what has happened is people do not have a routine anymore. This is one of the big issues. So before, they used to go to an office to work from an office. So they would have to get up in the morning. If they have kids, they would have to take the kids to school at a certain time, or if there was summer camp, etc. And they would have to wake up at a certain time, take the kids to school, then go to the office. So their routine was pretty set. But nowadays, their routine is completely vanished. They have a haphazard schedule. They work from home. Kids are at home. They're not in a camp or any other summer programs, or they don't go to school, especially now that I guess most of the schools have started. And so what's going on is that people now have the advantage or the disadvantage of like setting their own schedule. If they want, they can work at night if they are project oriented at work. The kids are there, so they have to take care of the kids. So when you have a very variable schedule and you're not on a routine, according not only to Ayurveda, but also from the perspective of Western concept of circadian rhythm, it completely throws your physiology off. And so it adds to stress. So for example, if you look at the circadian rhythm and cortisol, for example, we know that cortisol starts to secrete at around 6:30 a.m. and starts to peak and stays at the peak past 12 noon, about 2 p.m., and then starts to go down. And so if you stay in bed later and you're not waking up, the reason cortisol rises at that time naturally is because we need to get up, we need to get on with our day. That's a completely evolutionary thing in human mechanism. And so if we're not in sync with that natural rhythm, the circadian rhythm, then we're not in sync or in harmony with our hormonal fluctuations that are meant for certain activities during the day. And so, for example, that's one of the main reasons that people can be stressed out. Cortisol being a stress hormone, if it's thrown off balance, you could feel constantly at a fight and flight mode.
So what do you say to people who say, but that's not my rhythm at all, I'm a night person?
Sure. So a lot of people say that they're a night person, and that could be true. One of the thing about being a night owl is that there is also a conditioning about that. According to Ayurveda, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., so 2 p.m. at night to 2 a.m., that's a pitta time of day. Another pitta time of day is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Anytime you have pitta increased in the system, pitta is very, active, is very like
Driving.
driven, goal oriented, creative, visionary. And so what happens is the night owls will stay up late and stay in bed late. So what happens, they kind of miss that pitta time of day, because by the time they get up, they do their routine, they have breakfast, etc., they've already passed at least half of that pitta time. So then, because they woke up later, now they can afford to go to bed later. But what happens is, once you enter the pitta time of night, so the pitta time of the 24 hours of the day, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., then pitta starts to rise. Now, if you pass that window of kapha time, which is before 10 p.m., but when we are lazy, we are heavy, or we are resting, we're mellow, etc., and we go to the pitta time of day, naturally, most people
Yes.
become more energetic, and suddenly there is a surge of energy. And so then people would also take that as being a night owl. And it is true, because you become more creative during the pitta time of day. So
Yes. Let's just check in with somebody over here who just said, I'm dealing with a very toxic relationship, was going to dinner to meet with the person and finally end it with some peace. It's amazing you're going live right now. It's a sign.
oh, that's interesting.
Well, it may well be a sign. You don't want to live with chronic low-level stress. Of course, you don't want the great peaks and valleys that you get in a toxic relationship, but you also don't want the low-level stress that's there all the time, that your shoulders are slightly towards your earlobes and you're getting your exercise by walking on eggshells. So if that's going on for you at Create Something Great, I think going to dinner and saying, I don't think I want this in my life anymore, let's just part, may be a very good idea for you. And thanks so much, Dan. Nice to see you. So there we have it. There are these rhythms, and so Atousa was talking about Ayurveda, and you may not know what that is. So let's just talk about a definition of Ayurveda. I studied it for a long time, just because of my interest in yoga and all things in that realm. How about you? What would you tell someone Ayurveda is?
Okay, so I would say Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga. The yogic sciences and the Ayurvedic sciences are originated from the same texts of yoga, the Vedantic texts, which are going back to thousands of years ago. But Ayurveda was the knowledge of life. And so Ayur means life. Veda means knowledge. So the knowledge of life is the ancient medicine from India, but it was really the medicinal aspect of yoga for the yogis. And it's not just for the yogis, it's just that the yogis understood the value of vitality and longevity, because their goal was ultimately to reach liberation, enlightenment, higher states of consciousness. But if they were ill, or they didn't feel well, or if they succumb to premature death, then their goal of enlightenment would not be accomplished. So therefore, the ancient sages and rishis and medicinal people of the time also embedded a lot of the Ayurvedic principles in those texts of yoga, especially the Artava Veda and Rig Veda. And so later on, there was a sage that about 3,500 years ago or so, that actually extracted all of the Ayurvedic texts from those 4 texts and embodied it in Charaka Samhita. And so then from there was this distinguished medicinal knowledge of Ayurveda, the knowledge of life. And so it's an ancient wisdom, ancient medicine from India, and it's the sister science of yoga because of what I just explained.
Good. So everybody knows, and it's very useful. Once you know what we call your dosha, where you know what the prevailing way that your body is and how that affects your whole interaction with life in general, can be very, very useful. So certainly contact your vitality doctor if you want to know more about that. Certainly something that's been a prevailing principle in my life, and it's extremely useful, and you can do all kinds of good things to help yourself along the way or solve problems you might come in contact with. So let's just talk about what actually goes on in the body when there is chronic stress and anxiety. That, you think you're handling things quite well. You think, I'm okay enough, am managing. This is normal. But it isn't actually normal to live with someone or in some relationship that is actually continuously aggravating and therefore increasing your stress. So, what actually goes on in the body when there is this low level, constant concern?
Mhm. So it goes back to what is really stress and what is stress physiologically. And, a lot of us have heard about fight and flight, which is the function of the sympathetic nervous system, which is one of the two aspects of the autonomic nervous system. And so, and we're designed this way, we're programmed to respond to an alarming situation in our life, even as primitive men and women, just mankind as a general. It started with us being hunter and gatherers. So we were either attacked by some other tribes or chased by animals, etc. And basically, our nervous system was gifted with the sympathetic nervous system, fight and flight. So you respond to a stressor or an alarming situation, and your body has to get ready for either fight or flight. You either have to, confront the situation and deal with it, or just run away, or sort of take yourself away from the situation. For that reason, the body had to go through a certain physiological state. For example, your musculoskeletal system had to receive most of the circulation. So therefore, the circulation will be deviating from the heart, but it would go towards the musculoskeletal system. Or for example, oxygen would basically, again, through the circulation will go to the peripheral system, your limbs, your muscles, your bones, because you either had to fight or flight. So either had to run, so you needed that musculoskeletal strength. So there would be less oxygenation to most parts of the body, your heart, your brain. So decreased oxygen levels would happen when you're in that fight and flight mode. Cortisol, which is the stress hormone, would go up. And when cortisol goes up, then sugar level in the body goes up, because if you need to run or flight or fight, you're gonna need that much calorie to cope with the situation. So therefore there needs to be an abundance of glucose or sugar. But imagine if you never. So here is the first stage of stress, the alarm stage, where it is naturally cortisol goes up and all these physiological things happen because we need to cope and overcome. But once we cope and overcome the situation, we go to the resistance phase. The resistance phase is where we already coped with the situation, we resisted the stress, whatever it may be, a toxic person or our boss or something, an animal attacking us, whatever. And then the hormones will go back to the normal state. And then we're good, we're normal again. But what happens is chronic stress will constantly keep us in that alarm stage, where the cortisol is up the whole time, adrenaline is up the whole time, sugar goes up, and all the effects of high sugar, all the effects of high cortisol will drain our system and basically create a foundation for disease and illness. And obviously, stress is not just something that we experience physiologically or physically, but more so mentally and emotionally. And so when it's chronic, then it becomes a physiological, pathological. In the long run, it becomes a pathology.
So, in that, I mean, I know there's no definitive answer, but how long does it take before the body starts to say, "Oh, I don't think I can do this anymore," and it starts to adapt to being at those alert levels and starts to wear out certain pieces of it? How long do you think we can actually cope with chronic stress before there is an adverse, irreversible, well, they're not irreversible, but a long-term to reverse effect?
Mhm. Okay, so that's a very good question, but it doesn't have a very absolute answer, because everybody is coping mechanisms, either genetically or by conditioning or environment, etc., is different. So everybody has a different coping capability. So for someone to finally have chronic anxiety, it may take 2 years of being stuck in a wrong position or wrong job, right? For someone, it may take 5 years to be in a tumultuous relationship to actually finally get ulcer, stomach ulcer, or indigestion, or heart disease, etc. But generally speaking, if we're talking about all kinds of illnesses that are psychosomatic or um, degenerative conditions that are progressive in nature, and stress is one of the high risk, for example, coronary heart disease, then stress is one of the factors. But if someone has coping mechanisms, like, okay, they have a horrible boss, and they absolutely hate their job and it's a source of stress, but let's say that they're really good at exercising, so they go to the gym and exercise and they release a lot of these toxins, and also they're aware of their diet, so they eat well. So that person obviously will take a lot longer for the mental stress to actually manifest in the physiology and end up being something that is harmful. Someone else may also not eat well, may also not exercise, but constantly also having a mindset that is constantly having self-negative talk. For someone like that, with also, let's say, a predisposition genetically, let's say, to heart disease, then for them it may take, by the time maybe they're 45, unfortunately, they may be told that they have heart disease. Or
Yeah, one of the things that I find with a lot of my clients, because they come to me because they have relationships in crisis, and whether the relationships are toxic or not remains to be seen. But crisis itself creates these kinds of things where there's a low level anxiety with occasional high levels of anxiety. And, the research shows, Atousa, that many people will have the same problem in their relationship for up to 6 years before they seek help. And what we're talking about today allows everybody to see that it is really wise to get help early, because as these things accumulate and get aggravated over time, the damage they can do is significant. And a toxic relationship, or just a relationship that is difficult or not fitting you well, or you're constantly at odds, or you're always wondering, I always say it's really not a good idea to get your exercise walking on eggshells. And if you ever feel that you're doing that, then you could have this chronic anxiety, this chronic stress. And that is not a good place to come from. Because if we think about a level, maybe 1 to 10, and you think about if you're sitting at a 3 all the time, it doesn't take nearly as long for you to go, woo, and lose your cool or get unhappy or do something that you'll regret, because you're already at a heightened level. So from an emotional point of view, it's very, very important to make that connection with what's going on, because many of the people that I work with who've been in these relationships for quite a long time, they manifest things that are often related to the autoimmune system. They often have inflammatory conditions or developing inflammatory conditions because they are living at this level of alert.
Mhm.
And so it's important for us to understand that your relationships do have an effect on your well-being. in both directions. Your relationship can increase your sense of well-being, or it can increase your fear. And you know which is the healthier direction, right?
For sure. Yes.
Yeah. So, what self-care tips can we actually offer people today that would allow them to say, okay, I've heard this, and I need to make a few changes here.
hmm So I definitely, especially for chronic anxiety and stress, I definitely recommend those individuals to set their routine. Make sure that you don't stay up too late. Make sure you don't stay in bed too late. Give yourself time to exercise or do like a sequence of yoga if you like yoga. And nowadays there is a lot of yoga teachers that are offering online free sessions, or you could just go to YouTube or pick a yoga teacher that can teach you a private sequence. And so having that yoga practice and meditation practice in the morning, it sets the tone for the day. When you wake up, drinking that cup or 2 cups of water, especially room temperature, helps with your digestive system, lubricates your digestive system, your gut, hydrates you. And once you, if you have this routine, it's almost like you plan for these things. And so you plan for your self-care and you don't leave it to chance. Okay, let me see when I can do it. Maybe I'll do it tonight. If you set a routine, I wake up at, I mean, and you don't have to be waking up too early if you're not that type. Go to bed at 11, wake up at 7, 11 p.m., wake up at 7. This is for 9 hours. I'm giving you a break. Otherwise, you have to be in bed at 10 p.m. And, go to bed at 11, wake up at 7, 7:30, wake up, do your washing rituals, whatever it may be, just shower or washing your face if you shower at night, etc. Then go drink your water, especially room temperature. Maybe squeeze a little bit of lemon in there. Then sit and meditate. Focus on your breath. Do some breathing meditation. And do either an exercise, like if you like, you don't want to go to the gym, if you don't have access to any equipment, go for a walk, do a sprint, walk for 10 minutes, run or jog for 5 minutes, walk for 10, jog for 5, maybe do it for half an hour. And that's your exercise. If you don't want to do yoga, if you're not a gym type or weightlifting type, this, by the way, exposes you to sunlight during that time of the day, which helps with melatonin levels. And melatonin levels will enhance your immune system, but also enhance your sleep. And those of you who suffer from insomnia, this can help you. Exposure to sunlight from 8 a.m. to 12 noon has proven to enhance the levels of melatonin. Therefore, coping with stress is easier. Your sleep is also deeper and a better quality of sleep. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, then make sure you eat your meals at the same time. Don't eat meals at these variable times. One day you have breakfast, one day you don't have. One day you eat your lunch at 12 noon, one day you have it at 3 p.m. One day you have your dinner at 6 p.m., one day you have it at 9 p.m. So that variability, understand that it causes the system physiological stress. And it will definitely reflect on the mind, and you will also be stressed because everything is haphazard. For people who are prone to anxiety and stress, you need a routine. So
routine, that's a big deal, everybody. I mean, it's a really big deal because often you put yourself at the bottom of your list. Everybody else comes first, and then you get the leftovers, you get the remains of the day, as they say. And that is not a good idea because you want to be your best self while you're coping with the day. So you need to take care of you. Now, if you're in a toxic relationship, that needs attention. That needs to have some help. It needs to have some awareness. You need to not be afraid to look at it and say, I need to do something here. I may not like what I need to do. I may be afraid to look at what I need to do because I'm afraid to do what I need to do. But remember, every minute that you put it off, you're still suffering from it. You are still having those things go on in your body that put your body on alert. And that's cumulative over time, and it can end up with you having a body that is not happy and it's complaining. And there are things that you could do. Now, and Dr. Atousa said many, many things that in the course of this that you can do, some very, very specific about the way that you order your day or your food, the way that you think about the hours in the day and when you do things. These are important. So I want to put in the other piece of that. Know who you are, know who you're hanging out with, know how they make you feel, know that you want to gravitate to people who enrich you, people who are good for you, and you're good for them. And there's a nice, equal, reciprocal, mutual exchange. For those of you who listen to Save Your Sanity podcast, I always recommend that you go and listen to episode 115 again. It's called The 3 Must-Haves of a Healthy Adult Relationship. If you don't have those 3 things, you don't have the foundation for building all the others. And that starts with having a good relationship with yourself, that you're treating yourself as an equal with other humans. And if you're putting yourself second, fourth, 86th in line for what you need, the body is saying, hey, what about me? Let me get your attention. I will go a little sideways here to get your attention. And then you feel inconvenienced because the body's letting you down. But actually, you let the body down by not listening. So it's really important for us to talk about these things and tell people where they can find you and tell them a little more about you.
Sure. So, I think the easiest way is going to my website, yourvitalitydoctor.com, and the doctor is fully spelled out, yourvitalitydoctor.com. And you could also contact the office, 310-99770, if you like to have like a 20-minute of health strategy, free consultation or call. So I started as a chiropractic physician. I have been a chiropractor for 25 years. And right after I started my clinic in Beverly Hills, I also started getting a lot of people that didn't come to me just because they had musculoskeletal pain, like they were in neck pain or arthritis or headaches. They also had other underlying conditions like diabetes, like cholesterol problems, hypertension, high blood pressure, autoimmune diseases, digestive issues like Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, etc. And even though we are really well versed in chiropractic, but I felt like I needed more tools in my toolbox. So I went and I got certified in functional medicine and integrative medicine, which basically different styles of it, but I do functional medicine based on blood work. So I do nutrition and basically personalized diet and lifestyle routines based on your blood work and of course your symptoms, your history, etc. And then for personal reasons, I discovered yoga, meaning for personal health reasons. I discovered yoga and I started practicing yoga for myself. It was like a miracle. And so and I have to be honest, having a very busy practice in Beverly Hills, after also getting my certification in functional medicine, I was stressed out. I was anxious about my practice. Am I gonna make the payroll this month? Am I gonna pay the rent? Single woman, working hard. And so I was anxious. I had stress. I wasn't sleeping well. That's when I discovered yoga. And also I had developed neck pain, and that had an emotional component to it. And yoga saved me from all of those. So the years down the line, I went to India and lived there for 6 months with a yogi. And I basically came back after 6 months, officially a Hatha Yoga master teacher. And this is in 2012. And ever since then, I have added that to my toolbox. So Ayurvedic yoga therapy, but also Hatha Yoga. But when we were in India, we also got an introduction to Ayurvedic medicine. So suddenly the light bulb went off and I'm like, oh, I need to study this. So when I came back to the States, I went back to school and studied Ayurvedic medicine. And since 2017, I have also been utilizing Ayurvedic medicine as a part of my practice.
Great. Well, I happened to start doing yoga when I was 19 years old, long before anybody in the West was really aware of the word, and went on to study Ayurveda. So I so understand the journey, and I can't think of what my life would have been like without all of that. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
My
It's a
pleasure.
pleasure to have you again. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, go and listen to the podcast. Just go wherever you like to get your podcast. Go to saveyoursanitypodcast.com if you like, and look for the episode that we did on, again, overcoming chronic issues that you might have from a toxic relationship. So I'm Dr. Roberta Shaler. You know that you can find Dr. Atousa Mahdavi there at Your Vitality Doctor. You can find me at forrelationshiphelp.com, always there ready to help you. And of course, if you want to work with me directly or want to find out more about it, I do offer a 1-hour consultation for only $97. You can find it at beaclient.com. Very, very simple for you to remember. So until we're together again, please subscribe so that you all know each time we do a Facebook Live or we go live on YouTube. And feel free to contact me and join in. Definitely feel free to go and contact Dr. Atousa at yourvitalitydoctor.com. And until we speak again, take very good care of yourself because you matter. Talk soon.